Okay, so we're going to have a look at page design, page layout here. I've started with my basics. Okay, I've got my date, I've got my learning objective, and I've got my thinking column down the side here as well. Three kind of elements to include in my thinking column today. Key things. Okay, so key things that we learn about justifying an opinion. Like we might include details here and a very quick summary of what an opinion is. We might include a definition of the word justify. You might include your little top tips that you come up with or things that you realise as we're going through. We're also going to look at the language of opinions here, and we're going to look at what that means in our text. Okay, and we're going to any language bits that we pick up we can put down here. We can gather those. That will help us to spot those opinions. And then here at the bottom, because we're going to be looking at justifying or justified and unjustified opinions, part of that's going to come into thinking falsehoods, fake news, things like that. So here at the bottom I've left a section for how I can spot that. Okay, I'm going to leave a small chunk at the bottom here as a reflection, so I'm just going to draw that off, and if you look at that in the size of my page, it's quite a small amount. Okay, when it comes to laying this out on my page for the rest of it, at the top I'm going to start with looking at, let me just get the focus back, there we go. At the top I'm going to start off with statements and opinions, and that's going to be something I want you to look at first of all. So we're going to have here, you're going to give yourself either a line to start with. That's probably a good way to do that. Give myself a line and give myself another line up here as well. Okay, and on these lines I'm going to put statement and opinion. Okay, and then I'm going to create definitions of what is a statement and what is an opinion. And there's a clear difference here, and it's really important we understand that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a bit more detail about opinions, and we're going to be looking at this justification of an opinion. So what I then want you to do is I want you to think, okay, well, I can break an opinion down into two different things, and we will have talked about this in the lesson. Okay, and you'll be able to find out more about this in the resources that I give you for this session. But here for an opinion, we've kind of got two options. We can have a justified opinion and we can have an unjustified opinion. So give yourself some arrows. You can make the arrows as fancy as you like or as basic as you like. Okay, and then from opinion you're going to have two different sections here. So what you might want to do, you don't have to, but what you might want to do is just give yourself a very light line down the middle just to separate this bit off. Okay, and on one side we're going to have justified, and on the other side we're going to have unjustified opinions. Okay, and remember, anytime you're doing anything with pencil and with ruler in your books, it needs to be really, really light touch so that it's really easy to rub out. Okay, so on one side we're going to have justified. And on the other side we're going to have unjustified. Okay, and what you're then going to do for me is you're going to tell me what a justified opinion is, and you're going to tell me what an unjustified opinion is. Okay, so I want you to define those. I want you to think about what we've discussed in the lesson, and I want you to go, okay, well, if this is an opinion, is it a justified opinion or is it an unjustified opinion? Okay, and then what you're going to do after you've done that is you're going to just have a little section down at the bottom, and again, I don't mind how you divide this off, whether you use lines or whether you just use gaps, whether you graphic design the lines or whether you just keep them quite straight and simple. I don't really mind. Okay, and then we're going to have examples here. Okay, so we're going to have an example section. I'm just trying to write around my visualizer here, so apologies if it's not that neat. Examples. And I would like you to think of, and I would like you to write an example of a justified opinion. So think of an opinion that you could have. Now, it doesn't have to be about refugees, it doesn't have to be about cultural diversity. It very much can be, though, if you want to. But think about giving an opinion and justifying it. Okay, and if it's a justified opinion, it's going to be an opinion that is backed up, it's going to be an opinion that is respected, it's going to be an opinion that people consider to be fair enough. I can see that. I think that's probably a true thing. And then I also want you to give me an example of an unjustified opinion. And I want you to give me an example of what that might be. So an opinion where if you heard it, if someone said it to you, you might think, actually, I'm not believing what you're saying. I don't think you've justified your thoughts. I don't think you can say what you're saying and back it up with the way that you are because of this. So you can either search for an example of that, or you can think of your own example and create for me a justified and an unjustified opinion. Okay, and there should be a clear difference between those two. I would suggest as well, give yourself some lines to write on. Okay, keep that writing nice and neat. Okay, and make sure you're hitting all of those non-negotiable targets that we make sure that we include in our journals. Okay, as I said, this opinion here, it can be about our subject inquiry at the moment, it can be about cultural diversity, and it can be about refugees. However, if you're finding that a little bit challenging at the moment to come up with your opinion, if you don't think you've seen enough or read enough or researched enough to have an opinion yet, that's fine. Think of an opinion that you do have. Give me a justified opinion and an unjustified opinion. You'll notice at the bottom I've left enough room here for my reflection, which we'll do in our reflective session in the afternoon. Okay, and remember to be filling in the thinking column as we go. Key things you spot about it, the language of opinion, opinionated language, and also top tips for spotting fake news.